Welcome everyone. Welcome to our worship hour, Rona Park. Today's sermon title is Serious Challenges, based on Joshua chapter 13 and 14. Chapter 13 and verse 1, it starts like this. When Joshua was old and well advanced in years, the Lord said to him, "You are very old, and there are still very large areas of land to be taken over." So let me ask you a question. So what do you think? Joshua's conquer mission completed, or isn't there any other areas that he has to work on? It's very confusing subject, because all we heard is that Joshua conquered and killed the kings and so on. But still, there are some areas that seems like he has to work on. Some Canaanites or other tribes, they still occupied the promised land. For example, let's go to chapter 21 and Joshua chapter 20 and verses 43 and 45. It says, "So the Lord gave Israel all the land he had sworn to give their forefathers, and they took possession of it and settled there. The Lord gave them rest on every side, just as he has sworn to their forefathers. Not one of their enemies withstood them. The Lord handed all their enemies over to them. Not one of all the Lord's good promises to the house of Israel failed. Everyone was fulfilled." So somewhat confusing. One said there are still areas he has to work on, but later chapter it says everything completed. Well, I understand that the major battle is over, the war is over, but still there's some combat assigned to each tribe. They have to work on to conquer the land. That's what I'm understanding. Something like Jesus already won the war. He died on the cross and he saved us by the precious blood of his. But still we are living in this sinful world until Jesus comes back. So we are working on some areas that Jesus assigned us to do. So today, each day is our daily battle. This is our daily battleground. In verse 2, there's some list where they are going to work on. So this is a land that remains, all the regions of Philistines and Geshurites. So remember, when the land was divided and distributed to each tribes, and there are certain things they have to work on. In verse 3, it says, "From the Sihor River on the east of Egypt to the territory of Ekron on the north, all of it counted as Canaanite, the territory of 5 Philistine rulers in Gaza, Ashdod, Ashkelon, Gath, and Ekron, that of the Evites. From the south, all the land of the Canaanites, from Arah of the Sidonians, as far as Aphek, the region of the Amorites. The area of Gebalites and all Lebanon to the east, from Baal-Gad, below Mount Hermon, to Lebo Hamath. As for all the inhabitants of the mountain regions from Lebanon to Misrephoth Maim, that is, all the Sidonians, I myself will drive them out before the Israelites. Be sure to allocate this land to Israel for an inheritance, as I have instructed to you. And verse 7, and divide it as an inheritance among the 9 tribes and half of the tribe of Manasseh. So the war is over, the mission of conquest is over, but still each tribe, they have to work on some areas they have to grow, they have to work on and finish the battle, so to speak. So chapter 13, the verse 15 talks about, this is what Moses has given to the tribe of Reuben, clan by clan. So there's some detailed the division, the territory was confirmed here. And as you move on in verse 24, to the tribe of Gad, clan by clan, and 29, it says, the half tribe of Manasseh, half the tribe of Manasseh, so Manasseh East. So in this chapter, Joshua talks about the boundaries in more detail, talks about the Transjordan, the east side of Jordan River. We dealt with last week, but this is more specific boundaries going on here. So very different setting now, because verse 1 through 12 talks about the conquest, but after 13, it talks about distribution, the land distribution. So let me ask you a question. So what is the principle of distribution? Yes, as you hear, it's the principle of this distribution is by lot. And 14 and verse 2, their inheritance was by lot, as the Lord has commanded by the hand of Moses, for the 9 tribes and the half tribes. So 9.5 tribe, this side, the west side of the Jordan, and 2.5 tribes, half of Manasseh, the east side of Jordan, as we can see. Now, when we think of the distribution of the land, I thought about what challenges I encounter when I read those stories. Well, we occupy the space, but also at the same time, we occupy time. I mean, we spend time. So what about your distribution of your time? 24 hours a day, equally to everyone. 24 hours a day to me. What is my challenge, my distribution of my time? It's very important, because what we are is what we, so to speak, what we spend our time. What do you do in your days? Now we encounter a very interesting and famous biblical figure here. That's Caleb. Verse 11, it says, he's challenging right here, verse 11. He said to Joshua, I'm still as strong today as the day Moses sent me out. That's about 40 years ago, right? I'm just as vigorous to go out to battle now as I was then. Now, give me this hill country that the Lord promised me that day. You yourself heard then that the Anakites were there, and their cities were large and fortified. But the Lord helping me, I will drive them out, just as he said. So very interesting, because Joshua as well as Caleb, they are only two persons, the first generation. All of those other, the Israelites died in the wilderness, above 20. And like Joshua, Caleb can request or demand a certain land, because God promised that you'll inherit the land. But instead, he did not choose the easy one, but he's going too hard. I mean, this is a hill country, and the giants inhabits, and he's demanding that I'd like to conquer that land, because God promised me. So the request was granted. Verse 13, then Joshua blessed Caleb, son of Jephunneh, and gave in Hebron as his inheritance. So Hebron has belonged to Caleb, son of Jephunneh, and Kenizzite ever since, because he followed the Lord, the God of Israel, wholeheartedly. This is the key. He followed the Lord wholeheartedly. So, Lord, I remember that, and this is going to be my land. I'm still strong, and I can fight, so I'm challenging this land to make my own. Right? That's Caleb's challenge. And Hebron used to be called Kiriath Arba, after Alba, who was the greatest man among the Anakites. Then the land had rest from war, like that. So mission completed. But let me ask you a question. When you hear the word Hebron, do you recall something happened in the past, in the book of Genesis? What is related to this Hebron? Yes, as you can say, Abraham. It is related to Abraham's wife, Sarah. Genesis 23, verse 2, Sarah died at Kiriath Arba. There's Hebron in the land of Canaan. And Abraham went to mourn for Sarah and to weep over her. Now, God promised Abraham, this is going to be your land. But now, Abraham, when Sarah passed, and he had to purchase the land to bury Sarah. Is it interesting story? Because how come the landowner has to pay his own money to buy that land? Well, the Hittite said to Abraham that, okay, you and me that's okay, so you are good to go. But Abraham paid what he has to pay. So verse 16, it says, Abraham agreed to Ephron's terms and weighed out for him the price he had named in the hearing of the Hittites, 400 shekels of silver, according to the weight current among the merchants. So he paid this amount, the price. In 19, it says, afterward Abraham buried his wife, Sarah, in the cave in the field of Machpelah near Mamre, which is Hebron, the land of Canaan. It's a very interesting story, because now this promise God made to Abraham was fulfilled in Joshua's time, pretty much. So this is the map. God promised Abraham which land he is going to inherit. So according to Genesis 15:18, on that day the Lord made a covenant with Abraham, now back then Abraham, and said, "To your descendants I give this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river." So river of Egypt right here. The great river, the Euphrates right here. So this land, God is going to give the descendants of Abraham. And verse 19, it's a list of the tribes, the pagan tribes right here. The land of Canaanites and Kenizzites, Cadmonites, Hittites, and Perizzites, Rephites, Amorites, and Canaanites, and Girgashites, and Jebusites right here. So as you can see, this land is going to be conquered. So the promised land, according to God's decree, is from the river of Egypt right here, and great river right here, the Euphrates, this land. Interesting enough, this promise is going to be fulfilled the time of David and Solomon. Most of this land was occupied, and David's kingdom controlled those land after more than 1,000 years, and this promises were fulfilled. You know, once we pray for something, maybe it didn't happen in our lifetime, but who knows? God is so faithful in keeping His promises, and generation after generation, it'll be fulfilled. So don't worry, just pour out your prayers, and God is listening, and He is fulfilling, if not this generation, and in the future. So now this map again, the 12 tribes and Joshua, about this size. But actually, the promise was fulfilled, the kingdom of David time right here, from the river of Egypt and the great river Euphrates. Those territory were controlled by the kingdom of David after more than 1,000 years. So now, I'm challenged by this figure, Caleb, and his faithfulness and his trust in our God and his mission. Caleb knew that what mission he had, and he wanted to accomplish those missions in his lifetime. You know, the word Caleb here, this is a man's name, Caleb, Caleb here. And some scholar says Caleb's name, the meaning of the Caleb is a dog here, because Caleb is dog. Caleb is Caleb, and Caleb, the Hebrew words, all the consonants are the same. The consonant and the vowel is like a dot shape underneath right here is a little different. So two different words, but some scholars suggest that maybe those words are coming from the root. So Caleb is a dog, like that. Well, if somebody called you a dog, and are you happy? Will you be happy, or can it be acceptable or not? But some dogs, they're better than the human, like this. You know the story of this happened about I believe 5 years ago.
Looking for food, but found something terrible instead. Somewhere, the dog found a newborn child only a few hours, and even with the umbilical cord still attached.
Can you believe this? Dog found a newborn baby, still the umbilical cord attached.
How the mother could possibly have done this. The important part of the story is what happened next.
This is what happened.
The dog gently picked the baby up in its mouth, around the chest, as if somehow it knew that the chest would be the strongest part of the child.
Wow.
He took it to a family home nearby, walking right up to the front door. He put the baby down in front of him, sat down with the child, and began to bark and bark. The family who lived in would find the dog and baby on the doorstep, and immediately took the baby to the hospital.
Can you believe this? This is a story of a dog. Just a stray dog looking for food, and he found a newborn baby. Wow, this is very a terrible imagination, but the dog, he could have eaten this newborn baby as a food, because dogs can eat everything, carnivore and herbivore. Dog can eat anything. So still the umbilical cord attached, and he found this baby, and he just hold this baby in this chest area, this hardest part to hold, and kind of deliver the baby to a home, and the homeowner rushed to the hospital and rescue this dog. This newborn baby. I believe that has happened in Brazil. And when I read this story, and some dogs are much, much better than the human, right? At least the mother and the father just threw away this baby, but this dog rescued this baby. Wow, that's something. Now, how we can spend our time wisely. In Bible, there are certain Bible passages that suggests time flies. One of which is Job 9:25. Now my days are swifter than a runner. They flee away, they see no good. They pass by like swift ships, like an eagle sweeping on his prey. Wow. Well, in modern time flies like an arrow, no, like a rocket, or the jet, fighter jet, like that. Time is flying so fast. So Ephesians 5:15, it says, look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of the time, because the days are evil. Like this. So Bible talks about we have to make the best use of our time. The word here, the best use of the time, is very interesting word, because in Greek, exagorazomai, this term is, this means redeem. This is redemption, related to redemption. Time and redeem. How can you redeem your time? Well, right here, Galatians 3:13, Christ redeemed us from the curse of the law by becoming a curse from us. The same word, exagorazomai, used, Christ redeemed. So how can you redeem your time? So another meaning of exagorazomai, it's redeem, but also by the time. By the time. and make good use of opportunity. That's the one. So how can you redeem your time? When you make good use of opportunity, then you can redeem your time. And Colossians 4:5, walk in wisdom toward outsiders, making the best use of the time. So when I read the book of Joshua, it talks about conquest, conquer the land, and the distribution. And now, wow, how can I distribute my time? What do I do in daytime? So it is advisable to think of a little bit before you go to bed. I mean, at night you lie down on your bed and just close your eyes and thought about, just think of the time you have spent during the day. What did I do? Isn't there any area that I can improve? And do I just dwindle my time? And did I spend my time wisely or just uselessly spend my time like that? And Christ Object Lessons, it talks about our time, and under the chapter of talent, I still remember this very powerful passage. Christ Object Lessons, it says, our time belongs to God. Every moment is His, and we are under the most solemn obligation to improve it to His glory. Of no talent He has given will He require a more strict account than of our time. So God is going to ask us, what did you do while you are on the earth? This is something very fantastic or marvelous what He did. This is the retired professor in Korea, Professor Kim, and he was born in 1920. So he celebrated his 100th birthday. Wow. So celebrating his 100th birthday, and he's talking about, oh, this is kind of a feast. And happy birthday song was sung. And he blew his candle wishes. He's very good. I read one of his books, and he said the book title is My 100 Years. And he said the best age group is between 60 and 75. Between 60 and 75, that's the best age group when he looked back in the past. And he said, at the age of 80, we should review our statement of operation of our life. Time for evaluation so far, how your life has been. And he said, we can grow as long as we learn something. And when he retired at the age of 65, which was a legal age for retirement in Korea back then as university professor. Now, I don't know what age we have to retire, but back then, 65, he retired. And guess what? After 35 years, he is still working and doing something, and he promised, he kept his promise. He said when he retired at the age of 65, which was the legal age for retirement as university professor, he said humorously, now I graduated from college. I'll do my best as a graduating student for this society. So he's leaving the university, so he's going to do something new as a graduate. Well, he wrote this book at the age of 97. He could stand up and deliver his speech for 60 minutes for an hour easily, and some longer session he would sit down and deliver. But he's very good. He's very good in his shape. So in his book, title 100년을 살다 보니, which means celebrating 100 years, or looking back my 100 years, like that. And there's a chapter, what do we live for, under that chapter. This is what he says. Who can say I lived my life positively? Those who want to live as it is and want to continue to live like this would be the ones who lived positively. Well, if you enjoy your life and you just keep doing what you are doing, right? That's he said the people. He lives positively like that. However, if you think I need to change your goal, if you think I need to change your goal of your life by self-examination, you should change your meaning of life and contents. But you don't like your life, and you're not satisfied your life how you lived, then you're going to change a little bit the contents of life, and you have to reset the goal of your life and meaning of your life, like that. And this is kind of his conclusion. What would you like to leave behind? Everyone is going to die, and we have to leave this earth. We have to know there's no exception. We are passing away, right? So what would you like to leave behind? There was a question, and his answer was, the answer should be love, sharing life. No life is greater than this. This kind of love is so precious that it could overcome the death. He's a Christian, and he knew the real thing in his life. It's a love sharing. Just like God commanded us, love your God wholeheartedly and love your neighbor as you love yourself, right? Love sharing experience. That's very precious life he has lived. Just like Matthew 25:19, after a long time the master of those servants returned and settled accounts with them. His master replied, verse 21, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. My church family, so far, how's your life? If we can find the mission of our life, then we'll be one of the luckiest one in the world. When we know that the mission of this world, and you spend your time doing that, this is gorgeous, this is marvelous, this is what we should do. And 1 Corinthians 58. Therefore, my beloved brethren, be steadfast, immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, knowing that your labor is not in vain in the Lord. When God asks us, what did you do? And this should be our answer. Lord, you gave me this mission, and for all my life, I just keep doing this faithfully to glorify your name. I love you, Lord, as much as I love me, and I love my neighbor as much as I love myself. That will be our witness at the end. Remember Caleb and Joshua? Joshua, he did fantastic job to conquer the promised land, and another mission was given to him. There was a distribution of the land which he conquered. And like Caleb, he was so faithful in his life in front of God. And those two biblical figures challenge us what kind of life we are going to live. So God bless you, and rest of the Sabbath day, I hope you can enjoy spending time with your God, and we'll see you next time.